Hello, everyone out there. I'm delighted to be invited to this program to take part in this program, even though I am thousands of miles away. My name is Musa Sedikan, a Gambian journalist exiled in the United States of America. I sought assistance from the Media Foundation for West Africa in December 2007 simply because I was ready to take the Gambia government down and I had offered myself as a sacrificial lamb that was ready to test the muddy waters. This is a government that has been getting away with impunity and has not been challenged internationally. So I was ready for that task. And I also had this belief that when I was in jail, there were a lot of people who denied themselves their resources, their sleep, their enjoyment, and they fought for me. And I think it would be fair for me also to do the same for others who are in my shoes. And thanks for all those who actually helped me, including Media Foundation for West Africa, making sure that I escape from the lion's den. And also, the other reason is this is a brutal government that has tortured me to the core and detained me for 22 days without trial, during which I was tortured for 3 consecutive nights. And during the torture, I had injuries all over my body. If you can see the other side of my cheeks, there are bayonet wounds there. There's still marks are there all over my body. The wounds are so, you know, relevant, so much that even my kids sometimes I don't want them to see me naked. Otherwise, they will still live with the trauma. In fact, one of my sons asked me what happened to me, why I had all these bruises on my body, and I can't lie to him. I told him point blank that I was a victim of torture meted out to me by Gambian soldiers. And he was so frustrated, he was angry, and what he told me was that if I have the means, I was going to kill Yahya Jammeh, and that is too difficult for me. But also, I took the case to ECOWAS Community Court because I was expecting that the case was going to generate a lot of negative media attention for a government that actually, in the first place, didn't want to accept its crimes, let alone compensate victims. And I was among those victims who were never compensated, even though I won my case at the ECOWAS Community Court. And I could still remember in December 2010 when I won my case, there was this BBC journalist who called me, asked me a whole lot of questions, and one of the questions was, "I hope this case is not going, the victory is not going to be a symbolic one." And at that time, what I told him was that no, it was not going to be a symbolic one because I was expecting ECOWAS to prevail on the Gambia government. But little did I know that perhaps this journalist who was asking the question maybe knows more than me about ECOWAS. But now, several years down the line, I now accept the reality that ECOWAS is not what I expected to be. That I also underestimated the weakness of ECOWAS, and I have come to realize that in fact, the two smallest countries, in the ECOWAS community, that is the Gambia and Togo, were allowed to get away with whatever they want, even though 13 of the other ECOWAS states want a term limit. These two countries' presidents don't want it because they have only one single goal, and the goal is to rule their people for life, even if it means walking over dead bodies or burying hundreds of people 6 feet, whether alive or dead. And as a result, ECOWAS, instead of taking these two countries down, they decided to allow themselves to be, to be held hostage by these two small countries. And this has raised the frustration level of everyone, including the president of the ECOWAS court. In fact, in 2014, he publicly made a public statement and venting his frustration about ECOWAS, that ECOWAS is an institution that has not live up to its expectation because she expected was the ECOWAS to be an institution that was going to make sure that all those people, all those countries that do not want to comply with its decision, the ECOWAS as a community will prevail on those countries. But sometimes difficult if you want to if you want politicians to be somebody who will implement all these things, so it's a problem. And in fact, ECOWAS has a history, a bleak history, historically in 1989, when Samuel Doe's forces stormed the church where over 600 refugees were seeking refuge. They massacred them, and when this happened, ironically, ECOWAS didn't seem to bother. In fact, no government or no president within the ECOWAS was talking about it, and it never even became an issue until a Liberian journalist, in the passing of Kenneth Best, went to the Gambian High Commission in Sierra Leone, and he lodged a complaint about it, that this is not the ECOWAS that we expect. And that complaint was forwarded to the former president of the Gambia, Sadao Jawara, who at the time was the chairman of ECOWAS, and he was able to mobilize his colleagues, and that mobilization gave birth to the formation of the ECOWAS, of the ECOMOG. That peacekeeping mission went to Liberia to restore peace there, and also went to Sierra Leone. So that tells you that if the right thing is done, yes, regional organizations can live up to their expectation, and they can even bring peace or help to bring peace and foster democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. But at the same ECOWAS we have seen now could not even have the muscle to halt Yahya Jammeh from illegally executing 9 death row inmates. These people, even if they were on death row, according to the constitution, before they are executed, there are some protocols or procedures that needed to be done, and those were never done simply because one man just woke up one day, defied all the odds, and said, I'm going to execute these people. And he did, and he said he was going to do it. If he had not done it, he was going to drink alcohol or eat pork. And he did it, and ECOWAS could not even prevail on him. And in fact, in 2011, the same ECOWAS raised eyebrows concerning the election malpractice or irregularities in the Gambia. That election is a process, the result is what is the last part of the process. If one aspect of the process is compromised, it can have an entire effect, or it can have an effect on the entire process. And what Jammeh told ECOWAS was to go to hell, because he knew that ECOWAS is a regional body that can neither bark nor bite. So it's a dog that no one wants to have in your backyard. And all these things, with all these things happening, this tells you that ECOWAS is simply beyond weakness, is weak, and it has frustrated everyone's level of frustration. And yeah, Jammeh, in fact, if he can have the guts to say no, or even to keep a dead silence to ECOWAS court's request in 3 of the cases where verdicts have been handed down, in my case and 2 other cases, and the government is still keeping quiet about it. They are not even talking about it. That tells you that ECOWAS is condoning dictatorship, is condoning impunity, which is rather unfortunate. But I always tell people, as long as Yahya Jammeh remains the president of the Gambia, unless he has proven me guilty, or unless his hands are forced, unless he has proven me wrong, but unless his hands are forced, Yahya Jammeh will make sure that he does not comply with the ECOWAS judgments, because here is somebody who is a dictator, who does not believe in the rule of law. Even in the Gambia, we have seen several cases of people who have been released by courts, and we have seen court cases that the government refused to comply with. So it's not only a regional problem; it is a national problem. This is something that is embodiment in the Gambian system, and Yahya Jammeh is the one who is the head of that system. So as long as he remains president, he is a bully who believes that he can bully anyone and does not want anyone to defeat him. And when I defeated him, and 2 other cases when he was defeated, he never wanted to comply, because he is scared that if he complies, the whole thing might one day come back to boomerang on him. So unless his hands are forced, he will not comply with the ECOWAS court decision. And also, we have seen the same president who just a few weeks ago has the audacity, or has the guts, to go back to the same ECOWAS and lodge a complaint, the same ECOWAS court that his government has refused to comply with. He went there and lodged a complaint that Senegal has violated one of the most important or key principles of the ECOWAS or protocol of the ECOWAS. That is making sure that ECOWAS countries, there is no restriction of free movement of goods and services, which is, and we are surprised that he has done that. But then also ECOWAS, instead of frustrating him just like the way he has frustrated the ECOWAS, they decided to send a fact-finding mission to Banjul and the Gambia. But of course, this border closure that he's talking about, he was the one who orchestrated, he instigated it because he decided to increase the ferry tariff by 1,000% when there was this gentleman agreement between Senegal and the Gambia that one must not increase the ferry tariff without consulting the order, and he defied that order. So what happened now? Everything has boomerang on him. The economic pressure is on him. The ferries are now empty, and the businesses in those areas also are virtually not happening. So instead of accepting his fault, he decided now to bully Senegal at the ECOWAS court. So with all this happening, it's rather unfortunate in our region, and that's one reason why our youth are also leaving the region in droves. They want to pursue their dreams wherever their feet takes them, and this is why they are now embarking on what has become a journey of no return for many people. We have seen them, combing the Sahara, going through the Mediterranean Sea, and many of them are dying there because they lack faith in their governments and also lack faith in the ECOWAS, knowing fully that if their parents disappear, if their rights have been violated, ECOWAS would not even stand for them because ECOWAS would never be there for them. And on that note, I thank the organizers of this conference, and I hope that we'll all mount the pressure on ECOWAS and our regional and our governments to making sure that impunity is never accepted. In fact, one of my friends told me that impunity is a disease that must not be allowed to grow, and that we must focus attention on it just like the way we did for HIV/AIDS and all other diseases. And I agree with him. On that note, I thank all of you for your participation in this program and also for giving me the opportunity to share my own experience with you. Thank you. Bye.